All right, welcome back to episode 9 of
Yep.
Book Nook Brews, but the start of a new month, so a new book. And this month we're reading Circe by Madeline Miller.
Yep.
Pretty excited for it. I'm not like I'm interested in Greek mythology, but I'm also not the most knowledgeable on this. So I feel like this is one where you're a little bit. This is where you get to shine, baby.
No pressure.
No pressure. I did want to start off with just a little bit before. So, as I think most know, I'm the reader in our
Yep.
relationship. I'm the one who likes to read. And I've started a little series on my TikTok, but just overall for myself, I call it the Catch Up Diaries, where I've been reading books from my shelf to just catch up on. And the one I'm reading right now is A Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And it's been a while. It's been a long time coming since I've had to read it. I'm still not done with it because I keep getting distracted. Cough, cough, cough. Stardew Valley. But I'm almost done. And I just wanted to say, I guess I just wanted to just talk about it a little bit here because I'm pretty sure more people have already read this before me. So many. I'm pretty late to the party. But I think, and I've told you this, the book is so slow. Like I started off enjoying like a lot of the descriptions and the imagery and everything, but it got like there's a certain point in the book where I feel like it got a little too long. Like it was the same repetitiveness. This girl is just getting up, painting, or getting herself into trouble. But like, I felt like nothing really progressed. And now I told you we're at a point in the book where things are picking up, and I'm really excited to see how it goes. But I don't know. I just wanted to talk about it a little bit
Yeah.
because I think I've been reading this book for a month now, so I'm not quite quick on reading because I keep going on to other things, being an adult. But yeah, I'm really liking the book, and since we're not reading like this for like a book club or anything, I can just talk to you about it. Granted, you have no idea what's going on,
Yeah.
but you just hear me talk about it, and you just
Yeah.
have to deal with it. So fingers crossed. I'm pretty sure by this week I'm gonna finish it. I've pretty much been reading bits and pieces of it as I'm like at the gym and whatnot, but I don't know. I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. But I've heard now that the first book is just very slow. Someone has told me that it's pretty much the setup for the whole series, and now I can see that as I'm getting closer to the end of the book. But man, why? And the difference between some of these books are just so small and big. But yeah, I mean, other book news in the book community. The third book for the Fourth Wing, or the Empyrean series, has been
Oh, is that what it's
announced.
called?
Yeah, it's the
Empyrean.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Has been announced. The name of the book is called Onyx Storm, and it comes out next year in January. So I think I might hold off in reading Iron Flame until
It gets closer to that.
yeah, because otherwise I don't want to sit like one of my like one of my friends who's just waiting for the third book, and they've essentially been waiting now over like they're about it's by the time the book comes out it'll be over a year that they're waiting for the third book. So I don't want to be in anguish for so long. So
Yeah.
I'll wait. But yeah, I told you about it as soon as I was told about it.
Yeah.
So
You did.
at this point, I don't think you're gonna read the second book unless I tell you.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I'm not. I don't think I'm interested in. I don't know. Just considering all the stuff that I heard about it, like I know you also heard that
it's a little bit rushed at the end.
a little bit rushed. I just don't like, even if it's a little bit, like it's just like also
Yeah.
I don't like it being rushed at any point, and that's just with anything.
No,
really.
and I agree because it takes away a little bit from
Yeah.
like the story overall. What I do hope is because this third book, since the second book's release to the third books, I'm really hoping that this time that the author is taking to write this, it's a little bit more well thought out, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'll give you the cliff notes for what happens in Iron Flame, and then when the third book comes out, we reading that ASAP.
Yeah.
I think so. So I guess that's already been announced for like a year
In advance.
in
Yeah.
advance. But
That'd probably be the February book. Then no, cause
yeah,
it comes
because
out in
it's coming out
January.
until like January 25th, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure it's January. It's towards the middle half of January. I know that for sure.
Middle half.
Oops. You know what? Let's just get into it.
Yeah.
Let's get into Circe. So, start us off. What is this book about? And what made you, want to read it?
Well, first I'll read the, what do you call it? The blurb.
Yeah.
So, in the house of Helios, god of the sun and mightiest of the Titans, a daughter is born. But Circe is a strange child, not powerful like her father, nor viciously alluring like her mother. Turning to the world of mortals for companionship, she discovers that she does possess power, the power of witchcraft, which can transform rivals into monsters and menace the gods themselves. Threatened, Zeus banishes Circe to a deserted island where she hones her occult craft and crosses paths with many of the most famous figures in all of mythology, including the Minotaur, Daedalus, and his doomed son, Icarus. The murderous Medea, I'm assuming is how it's said, and of course, wily Odysseus from the great Odyssey that we all know. But there is danger too for a woman who stands alone, and Circe unwittingly draws the wrath of both men and gods, ultimately finding herself pitted against one of the most terrifying and vengeful of the Olympians. To protect what she holds dear, Circe must summon her strength and choose, once and for all, whether she belongs with the gods she is born from or the mortals she has come to love. So that's the blurb for Circe by Madeline Miller. So the reason I chose it was I wanted to look for something in mythology.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wanted to go back into that, especially since we just, not too recently, but got off of watching the Percy Jackson series
On Disney Plus.
on
yeah.
Disney Plus. Yeah. I kind of am still stuck in that world again.
Yeah.
That's kind of what happened when I read the books, and then it kind of died down. Then the movie came out, and I was stuck again, and then that kind of died down, and now the series came out, and I'm kind of in that realm. I mean, I even went back to playing God of War
Yeah.
on the PS5.
Boy.
Because yeah, that's like different mythology, but it was still like they had to do with gods and just mythology in general, whether it's Norse or Greek or whatever. It interests me.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to see what other mythology books there was, and this one caught my attention because it was it came up because it was like by the famous author of, what is it,
Son of Achilles.
Song of Achilles. I saw that one had been like trending and stuff on
Yeah.
TikTok a lot.
It was very popular.
But like
So
that's the reason I didn't want to read that one,
Okay.
because of how popular it was. I'm like, let me see if she has anything else. And I saw Circe, and I was like, oh, I already knew about her, but I was like, what is this
What is her
about?
story?
Like, why? Like, how did she write a whole book based on her? And then I read the blurb, and then I read like, I guess a longer blurb. I don't know. It was like on Barnes and Noble on their website,
Okay.
like their own summary, I guess. And the way they said it, it was like a retelling of Circe's stories, not just the Odyssey that we all like that's the main one that we are like, I guess, taught because it was in school
Yeah.
where we read it. but obviously she has other stories, and I was like, those don't really get the shine as much as the Odyssey. And for it to be retold, but through the point of view of Circe, because in other ones, you just hear about Circe and you hear about her doing these quote unquote awful things, but it's like there's a reason somebody does
and now we're learning
something.
that.
And now we're learning why she did that. But I just think it's cool that it's also just specifically through her point of view. Like it could be told like for her point of view, but by somebody else. But for it to be straight from her point of view, or at least, you know, the author trying to make it like from her point of view.
That's what you mean.
You know. But that's what intrigued me on it. And then obviously I saw the cool cover that they had, and I'm like, well, if we ended up liking it, I'll eventually
the hard book. I think the hard book cover, that one's a little bit different. If you hear the little bell noise, Gris has taken an interest in the podcast right now. She's our special guest, and she just wanted everyone to know that this is a book that I've had in my shelf for quite a while too.
Hey, no. She just tried biting the mic.
And as soon as you told me about it, I was like, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure I've bought this book. And I'm pretty sure I bought it at the Writer Block bookstore here in Winter Garden. Pretty sure that's where I got it, in one of those maniacal little book buying.
Yeah, the one where you end up having me carry 8 while we still walk around the store.
You know, it's just good times, you know. But this is, I think, the second book I've read of
Madeline.
From Madeline Miller, because I think, okay, I knew about Son of Achilles. However, I don't think I'm pretty sure I rented it from Libby, and I only got to read a few pages, but because I had other books I was reading, I never got to finish it.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed what I read, like from the bits. But I heard it was a different retelling of Achilles' story, or the Son of Achilles. And then the other book I've read, and I was like, wait a minute, is this the same author? But no, it's a different one. And I told you, it has taken me a while to get through that book, and I think I didn't even get to half of it. And I do want to finish, so it's not a do not finish, it's just a to be read again. But I think it's called 1,000 Ships. It's by Natalia Haynes, but it's a retelling of the Trojan Horse, or the Trojan War, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But this is told through the women.
Yeah.
And so, again, it's another perspective, and I think that's what also caught my attention about Circe's, too, when I picked up the book and I bought it. It's because it's a retelling, but it's told from the actual person, not just from the lenses of everyone else. Yeah. So, very intriguing. But I had a feeling you would choose something within Greek mythology as your book as well. So, you know what? Let's get to the little recap. That way we can start talking about our thoughts and get into it. So,
but like, I mean, just because I don't think we've done a proper like intro for it. This week we read chapters 1 through 8.
Yeah.
It is I think it's going to be a relatively quick.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a quick
book.
Read.
So right now we did 1 through 8. Next week is going to be 9 through 15.
I think all the little all the like bulks chapters that we're reading throughout this month, they're very small. Yeah. It's not that big of a book.
Like it was 1 through 8, but there was like 2 chapters that were like 4 pages or
they're not
like
that long.
Like, yeah. So, but yeah, so that recap is going to be the 1 through 8 that we read this week.
Which, by the way, we didn't mention the brews because we got caught up in other things. But what we're having along with this week's podcast is coffee made by yours truly, me.
Yeah.
But yeah, made us some nice little coffee. You brewed it up. I just finished it off.
Well, the machine did it. I just pressed a button.
Yeah, and it was your first time working our coffee maker.
Yeah.
And the 6 months plus that we've been living together.
He kept making noises at me. I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah. I came out and I was like, wait a minute. I'm here. He's like, keep telling me it's closed. I'm like, flip the switch. What do you mean?
I didn't see a single switch. Apparently I'm supposed to look under the coffee machine. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Fun times. But now you know.
Yeah. Now I know.
Alrighty, let's get into it. Let's start off with chapter 1. So essentially, we're just learning the upcoming of Circe.
Yes.
So a lot of it may be a little bit weird how I'm describing it, so my bad. But let's get into it. Chapter 1. Circe is the daughter of Helios, a titan, and the god of the sun, and Pssst, a nymph and the daughter of Oceanus. Helios, a titan and god of the sun, married Pssst, a nymph and daughter of Oceanus. They only got married because Pssst told them it was marriage or nothing. And if he chose marriage, he couldn't bring any other woman home because she would be the only one he needed, or as she said, sway his halls.
Yep.
But okay. And then Circe was born. But her mother never really paid any attention to her because Helios said she would make a fair match to a prince, a mortal one at that. Pssst was upset that it wasn't someone higher or important and therefore gave her child the same kind of treatment. So she told Helios that they would just go make a better one. Crazy. Circe's infancy was quick, so they grow at a different pace than humans. Like, her infancy was merely hours, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And
so, for the most part, she grew up with the attention of no one after her aunt stopped caring for her. So for the most part, Circe would spend time with her father when he got home and watch and play draughts, which, do you know what those are? The draughts? No. Okay.
No, I actually, now that you mention it, I did want to look that up.
Okay, so we'll circle back to that afterwards, but that is something I wanted to ask. Okay.
Oh, it's checkers.
Oh, what?
Yeah, checkers, also known as draughts.
Interesting. Okay. And so she would watch and play draughts. Then, after a bit, her sister and brother were born. And Helios spoke in his prophetic voice and told her sister, Pasiphae?
Dang. How do we... Because I had said it was Pasiphae, but then we looked at it and it was
Aeetes. So Pasiphae. Because she has the same E that Aeetes has.
Pasiphae. So like Pacific, almost.
Pacific.
But it's Pasiphae.
Pasiphae.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and told her sister Pasiphae she would marry an eternal son of Zeus. And Perseus would reflect upon his mother, hence his given name by Perse. However, Circe's siblings were pretty awful to her. They would make fun of her eyes and her screechy voice, which is something to note afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
One day, Helios took Circe to see his sacred herd of cows, where more of Helios's daughters made fun of Circe's appearance and voice. Once they had gotten home, her sister revealed to her that the reason it said his cows are immortal is because Helios changes into a bull and sires their calves. And essentially picks off the oldest one, kills it, and, uses it for food. Circe couldn't believe it at first, and then everyone called her stupid and laughed at her. Chapter 2. So we find out that Prometheus is going to be punished for gifting mortals the gift of fire, allowing them to progress in civilization, which in turn made Zeus jealous. Now, throughout this, we're also told of how Kronos got overthrown. He heard a prophecy that his child would one day overthrow him. And so every time his wife bore his son, he snatched them away from her and swallowed them. He did it 5 times before Rhea swapped their latest baby for a stone, having Kronos swallow a stone, and their son Zeus was taken to Mount Dicte to be raised in secret. Once Zeus was strong enough and had his power, he forced a poisonous herb down Cronus' throat, causing him to throw up all of his children, and then the war began. Helios and Oceanos joined Zeus' side and defeated Cronos. Many think Helios joined Zeus because of his prophetic gift that may have given him knowledge of how it would end, and others thought he joined Zeus' side because he hated Cronos' vaunting pride. So, going back to Prometheus and his punishment, a lot of the brothers of Helios told him that his punishment was a sign that the Olympians were finally moving against the remaining Titans. However, Helios shut that down and said this was just due to Prometheus' own doing, and that there would be no blood drawn for now. Prometheus was whipped by the Fury Alecto in front of them all. After everyone left for a break to grab food and water, Circe brought water to Prometheus. She'd asked him about what mortals were like and why did he choose to help them. He simply responded that mortals are all different but share one thing in common: death. He also said that not all gods need to be the same. And that was all to their conversation before he told her to go before Alecto came back. Chapter 3. The fourth sibling is born, Aeetes.
Yes.
Yes. And Helios spoke of no prophecy to the child, so Perse wanted nothing to do with him as well. Circe volunteered to care for him, and so she did. He grew up and was very close to Circe. Some thought he was odd because of her, but he was always like that. He always knew of things others did not understand. He knew that Cronos was forced to swallow. He knew that the herb that Cronos was forced to swallow was Pharmaka? Pharmaka.
Yeah.
Yet Aeetes was still the favorite heir of Helios, as Helios would invite him to his councils. Soon, Pasiphae was contracted to a marriage with Minos, a son of Zeus and king of Crete. Crete?
King of what?
Crete? Crete?
Yeah, Crete.
Yeah, Crete. A mortal who would rule all mortals' soul in the afterlife. During her wedding, Aeetes told Circe he would collect all glories when he has his own kingdom. Circe jokingly asked him when that would be, and Aeetes responded with soon. Helios would give him a kingdom. Circe asked him if she could live there, but he told her no. That is his kingdom, and she should get her own. Soon after that, all of her siblings left, and Circe was alone again. But then one day, she went to a nearby shore and asked for something better. And then that's when she saw a boat. Chapter 4. So this is where we find out she meets a mortal man named Glaukos. They would meet consistently and talk about everything. However, one day he came by angrily because his father hit him due to them not having enough food. Circe wanted to help him, but he told her that she can't. I mean, she herself told him that she has no powers, so why bother? Circe immediately ran to Tethys, a great nurse of the world's water. She begged her to help Glaukos. Tethys agrees to help Glaukos fill his nets, but in return, Circe must promise to never lie with him. She's better than to be with a fisher boy. The next day, Glaukos comes back and is grateful to Circe that she has done for him. Circe tells him it wasn't her, and all she asks is for him to keep her company. That's all she wants in return. Circe then goes to her grandmother and asks if there's a way to make Glaukos a god. Maybe with Pharmaka, but her grandmother hushes her and tells her to never speak of that wickedness again. And so she leaves her alone. However, as she's walking back, she thinks back to a story she once heard, and how a place that had been sown with a god's blood is by a shore nearby that Glaukos could take them to. Chapter 5. Circe has Glaucus take them to this spot and tells him to lie down in the flower field and sleep. As he slept, Circe begged for the flowers to do something, to change him into a god, yet nothing happened, until something deep within her told her that the strength of the flowers lies within their sap, and could turn any creature into its truest form. So, Circe grabbed the flower and squeezed the sap into his mouth, telling it to change Glaucus to his truest form. And within moments, he changed into a god. He then woke up and pretty much told her, like, Circe, look what you've done. I'm changed.
Yeah.
He asks Circe if she can take him to the god's hall, and she does. She introduces him to her family, and Circe was happy. Now they can marry and be together. However, one day, Glaucus asks Circe the name of a beautiful nymph he saw in the sea. She tells him her name is Scylla, and from there on, Circe would see Glaucus and Scylla together. One day, Scylla told Circe that Glaucus asked her to marry her, and Circe fled. She went to her father and asked to marry Glaucus, but her father shut her down and told her that that decision was not hers, and he didn't think Glaucus would even choose her anyways. Circe confronts Glaucus and tells him that she can love him better than Scylla. All Scylla does is laugh at him and belittles him. However, Circe has loved him since he was a mortal and could love him even more. Glaucus refuses her and tells her she only saw her as a sister and that his mortal days are behind him. He is different now. Circe cried and cried. And then she got up and gathered those flowers of true being and brought them to the cove where Scylla bathed every day. Those flowers which show her her true nature. Chapter 6. The next day, Scylla's transformation happened. Her skin turned gray and her neck stretched, growing 5 more heads with gaping teeth. Circe was sure this would make Glaucus come back to her, but it didn't. Helios told them that there would be more, and Glaucus accepted it, not once thinking of Circe as an option. Then Circe confessed her actions to her father and uncles, telling them she used the wicked Pharmaka to change her because she was jealous, but no one believed her or that it was the powers or that it was the flower's powers. Sorry, my bad. Helios told her it couldn't have been those flowers. They have no power. However, Circe doesn't believe that and tells Helios that he's wrong. Those flowers have powers. And then I took this little bit because I just wanted to just showcase how Helios actually thinks of his daughter. So this is straight from the book. So Helios then tells her, "You dare contradict me? You who cannot light a single flame or call one drop of water? Worst of my children, fated and broken, whom I cannot pay a husband to take. Since you were born, I pitied you and allowed you license. Yet you grew disobedient and proud. Will you make me hate you more?" Circe then apologized to her father and told him she was wrong. Days pass, and Circe is summoned to the room where Aeetes and Helios are. Aeetes tells Helios that Scylla's transformation was done by Circe and not by the Fates. He explains that all the siblings practice, and I'm going to butcher this, Pharmakia?
How's it spelled?
Pharmakeia. Pharmakia? Pharmakia?
Pharmakea? Keia?
Yeah, Keia.
Pharmakia? I guess, yeah,
Pharmakia. So he explains to Helios that all the siblings practice Pharmakia. Oh my gosh, that's gonna trip me up. I'm sorry. Where they deal with Pharmaka, those herbs with the power to work changes upon the world. Pasiphae rules with her poisons. Persis conjures souls into flesh again. And now Circe with her transformations. Aeetes tells Helios to do what he must, and then Helios leaves, but tells them both to stay at the hall until a decision has been made. Aeetes tells Circe she's taken a while to figure it out. She is a Pharmakis, which is also just considered a witch. In other words, a witch. He also tells her that whatever punishment she meant to give Skyla was not done well. For even the most beautiful nymph is largely useless. If she were ugly, she would have been a burden to her family, since she wouldn't be able to be married off or produce children. However, a monster, she will always have a place. She may not be loved, but she won't be constrained either. 2 days pass, and finally a decision has been made. Persis will continue to live beyond their boundaries as he isn't a threat. Pasiphae's husband is a son of Zeus, so she's always going to be watched. Aeetes will keep his kingdom so long as he agrees to be watched. However, Circe will be exiled to a deserted island where she cannot cause any harm. Because compared to them all, she actually announced her powers in the crimes that she did. Chapter 7. Circe left the next day to an island called... This is probably the most horrible of them all. Aiaia. Aiaia? So Circe left the next day to an island called Aiaia. Now she had to adapt to being fully alone. She took time and learned to practice her pretty much witchcraft. She brought a withered flower back to life, banished flies from her home, made cherries blossom out of season, and turned the fire vivid green. And Aeetes was right. Her greatest gift was transformation. She could turn a rose into an iris, firewood into a cedar, a bee into a toad, and a scorpion into a mouse. But there were limits to her power. The toad kept trying to fly and the mouse to sting. So that's when she learned that transformations are really only touch their bodies, just not their mind. Chapter 8. One day, Circe gets a visitor. Hermes? Hermes? Okay. He had stolen something from his brother and came there to pass some time. However, he was not there as a spy. Circe lets him in, and this is pretty much the start of them being lovers. He would come by during his travels and keep Circe up to date with everything going on. They may have been lovers, but she never saw him as a husband or even a friend. They pleased each other, and that was that. Circe learned a couple of things from Hermes, though. Her voice isn't awful. It's just her voice is faint and thin, similar to how a mortal's voice is. And again, the island she's at is called Aiaia. And lastly, Hermes heard a prophecy of Circe, that a man named Odysseus, born from Hermes' blood, will come one day to Circe's island. And that was all. And that was pretty much the end of chapter 8. Give me your thoughts.
I mean, I didn't think we'd be getting into the Odyssey story that quick.
I know.
I was surprised to hear. I don't know. Well, obviously it's still a lot more to go through, but I feel like I would have liked to learn a little more of like what happens previous to her being like put in that island.
Yeah.
Like shunned to that island. But I mean, I guess at the same time we learned a lot, like from her youth to.
Seriously.
So I think it's like
her siblings suck at, like, her whole family is just awful. But I mean, if there's one thing we know about gods, it's just that they're horrible.
Well, from the stories, yes.
Yes.
I will still remain impartial until I meet one.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. My bad, dude. My bad. But yeah, jeez, her parents suck.
Yeah.
Like, really, the only one who showed her even just merely some compassion was Aetes. And even then, at the very end, he left her. Didn't even tell her to come with him or even tell her, like, about her.
No, because at the end of the day, it was still everyone for themselves.
And I think that's just the one thing that they carry around with them. It's just, it's everyone for themselves, like you said.
Yeah. And there was Prometheus, who was also, like...
Someone who she brings up, like, who was, like, what? I think in the second chapter...
I think so, yeah.
Second chapter. However, his name gets brought up, like, the next chapter. And then in chapter 8, where she still asks, is he still being punished?
Mm-hmm.
So, I feel like his kindness towards the mortals is something that, like, really resonates with her, no?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's the one that, like, from the stories even before this, he's the one that gave mortals fire. Mm-hmm. And, like, he's the one that took the time to get to know mortals and, like, actually... He's like the one that went down and was, like, studying humans, basically.
Yeah.
And in the end is kind of, like, the reason why other gods would go down and start meeting with humans. But then, obviously, you know, that's when they have kids with some of them, and there goes the half-bloods and all that kind of stuff.
Which is kind of hypocritical of Zeus, which we know he is.
Yeah.
Because, like, he literally had a son with a mortal, which was Minos, whatever. And, like, Minos is half mortal, half god, a demigod. Yet Prometheus giving them the gift of fire was just, no. You can't interact with mortals, but Zeus can.
No, he could interact with them. The problem with him giving them fire is the fact that he was giving them special gifts, I guess.
Okay.
like fire was this thing that was like, oh, we have it, you know, like it's something that we can do, only we can use. And then Prometheus goes down there and is like, hey, this will make it easier for you to cook or light or whatever. And Zeus is like, yo, that was ours. Why you giving it away? That was the problem he had behind it, not because he was interacting with mortals. The fact that he was interacting with them was like whatever, but it was the fact that he was giving them their gifts, and that's why he was being punished. Because Zeus saw it as, you took something from us to give to them, and so this is your punishment.
But also, like, he wants humans or mortals to just suffer.
Coexist. Oh, Zeus, yeah.
Yeah, Zeus wants them to suffer so that, you know, they keep praying to them and giving sacrifices to them. Yeah. Because that's what we find out when Hermes and Circe are talking, is that he's like, if a mortal man is happy, you think he's going to be praying onto the gods? No.
Yeah.
They literally have to be, like, tortured or, like, in pain, and they'll always be praying to a god for help. So every now and then you give them a little bit, just a crumb of something, so that they believe in the god that they're, you know, praying to. Yeah. But you still keep them below. Right. So fucking crazy. I will say, I don't like Glaukos. Fuck that guy. Like, why? Like, I get it. He was the first one to really have more of a conversation with Circe. Like, she enjoyed being with him. It's like, why him? Like, look how he treated her afterwards. And she's still, like, even after hearing him tell her, like, no, I don't want to marry you, or, like, I only see you as a sister, you still go to your father that has to marry him. Yeah. Like, dude.
But also, why make him into a god? That's the one thing I was like... Yeah. Like, why? Like, he never even asked to become a god or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. She did that out of like to go
Her
out of her way.
selfishness.
Yeah.
Because she wanted him forever.
Yeah.
And look, now he's alive forever, but at what cost? Because now he's not
Yeah.
going to be with you.
Because like it was even said when she went to her grandmother for that she was surprised that she wanted to do this, hearing that there was nothing going to be given in return
Mm-hmm.
to her. Like this was her idea, and it was like, yeah, because like why? Like I get wanting to help him because he was there keeping you company and like blessing his nets and all that. But just keep it at that. He
Yeah.
never asked to become a god or anything, and then there you go doing that.
And
And
Tethys also tells her that, too.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, you want me to bless him. What is he giving you in return?
yeah,
She's like, nothing. Why would he give me anything in return? He's like, that's just the way it is. Like, why are you blessing him nuts? What is he going to give to you? What value is he going to give to you?
yeah,
And she's like, at this point, she's like, I'll bless his nuts. I just don't want you to be with him. Like, or to, like, lie in his bed.
yeah.
And so,
But hey, now he's god of fishermen, so
and he sucks. I also just think it's crazy how Glaucus is just, he changed so much the moment he became a god.
yeah. But I
Wanting
mean,
to
that's
forget.
usually how it goes.
Yeah.
As soon as they get, I mean, even in the real world, it's like as soon as someone gets a position of power, most let it get to their head, and I think that's the same
True.
thing that happened here. It's like, oh, now he didn't ask for it, but now that I have it, it's like, okay, might as well use it to my advantage.
He killed his father. Crazy.
Yeah,
And then he just goes off to end up, like, in the story so far, like, he just goes off to being just another background character.
yeah,
He had his moment and then he ruined it.
yeah,
And Circe was just so, in a way, almost in love with him. I mean, she was in love with him.
yeah,
She wanted to marry him. But, like, what was he going to give you? Just nothing.
right.
He had nothing to give. And so that's why she's like, that's why Tethys is like, just, I'll bless his nuts, but don't lie in his bed.
Yeah,
Because she knew he has nothing to offer. It's like, don't lie in don't lie in his bed of, like, you're better than to end up with a fish boy. And
Yeah.
look, that's exactly what he ended up being.
yeah.
So, yeah.
One thing I did enjoy hearing again was that Kronos story.
Yeah.
That story always, I don't know. I don't know why I like it so much,
Mhm.
but like even from the Percy Jackson series and all that stuff, from that being told at the end, it's just a fascinating story to me. I don't know why, but like him eating his kids, but like whole, so like they're still growing up
Yeah.
in his stomach.
That's crazy.
But then Zeus putting that poisonous herb for him to throw them back up, and they just come out like Avengers out of the portals. They just
That's
come
true,
out
though.
one by one, and then they like they're all lined up in front of him, and then they
Mhm.
just chop them up into pieces, which eventually we know comes back. But like I enjoy hearing that story, so hearing it here as well
was nice.
was cool. Yeah, it was like you know that meme where it's DiCaprio, like he's like laying down or sitting, and then he's like starts pointing at the TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me. Like when they mentioned that story, I was like, oh.
I like hearing the retelling because I always hear it, but I guess Madeline really put it into perspective or made it very digestible for me to understand fully.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that and understood it, and I really liked the way she told the story.
One thing I did see online that I'm seeing a lot so far is that this was a really good book, even for someone who's not into mythology like at all,
Mm-hmm.
because while it takes these characters that have all these stories already with them, it introduces them all like from the beginning standpoint, like to where even like you, that you weren't like super knowledgeable in it, now know like how some got like started up, or how some
Yeah.
got introduced into stories and stuff like that. And I've seen that, so that's cool, because it's like someone that is not interested at all could now be, because this is kind of retelling them but also reintroducing them as if they're completely new too.
Oh yeah, no, and I really enjoyed how she did
Yeah.
like introduce every character. Like she doesn't give you she doesn't overwhelm me with so much information. She gives you just enough information for you to be like, okay, this is what I need to understand this character. All right, nice. And so you move on from it.
Yeah.
But now you understand who that character is, what they do,
Yeah.
and like know their essentially their origin per se.
Yeah. That, and then she has that list of characters at the
Oh
back.
yeah, I need to visit that.
What is it, like I think she called it the cast, as if it were like
Cast
a
of characters.
yeah. Let's see. Yeah, cast of characters, but it also, like, she splits it up by Titans, Olympians, mortals, and
Which, by the way, for the long, I was like, oh,
Monsters.
Titans are still, like, present, but in a different way, I guess. That's something I didn't really know.
what do you mean?
I thought Titans was just, like, I thought they all died or something. I don't know.
No, so Kronos was the king of the Titans.
Oh, okay.
But Titans are still, they were their own thing, before.
Are they stronger than the Olympians, per se?
I wouldn't say so. I'd say, I think the Olympians are overpowered. Like, if they were like comic characters or whatever, I'd be like, yeah, those are they're being made out to be stronger.
Yeah, okay.
I'd say they're relatively even. Just the fact that they're gods of Olympus is what kind of makes them a little stronger.
Okay.
But yeah, so Titans never really went away fully. I mean, Kronos did, King of the Titans did, but that's why. But it was always like kind of like that, I guess, segregation. It was like there's Olympians and then there's Titans, and that's why everybody was surprised that Helios partnered with Zeus.
Helios and Oceanos.
Yeah, and Oceanos. And they were surprised that Zeus actually like took them in, but it was also because Zeus was like, all right, I can have a Titan under me. It'll look good to have a Olympian have a Titan working for them or
True.
whatever, right? So there's still that whole, oh, you're a Titan, yuck type of thing. But
yeah, because even throughout, I believe in like at the beginning chapters, Circe said it's like it's unspoken words.
yeah,
But it's like Zeus will do, and the unknown words were for now.
yeah,
No blood would be drawn
for now.
for now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like they coexist with each other right now, but I have a feeling that might not
Yeah.
be
No,
how
yeah.
it goes
Eventually
throughout the
there's a like a gods versus Titan war and all that. Like eventually eventually there's like Titans get made out to be the quote unquote villains. But obviously you could also say the same thing about gods, like the Olympian gods and all that type of stuff. So like in stories, Titans are made out to be the bad ones, but it's also like you have to see both sides. Obviously Kronos, yeah, evil, bad dude. But so him being like the king of Titans, I guess, is what makes
the Titans almost kind of they paint them in the bad light,
Yeah.
per se, because of Kronos.
Yeah. But I guess overall Titans would technically be the bad guys per se, but I guess hopefully that gets explained in this too as maybe. I don't know. I don't know what other stories are going to be told by Circe other than the Odyssey, so I'm interested. And that was another thing I was interested in as well. Like, one, I didn't think the Odyssey would get brought up that quick, but also I guess it's good for her to get that out of the way because that's the one that a lot of people know, and then use the rest of the book.
I don't. I
You don't remember it?
I don't remember it. There's so many things like I feel like I've learned in school, but right now I can't tell you. That's why I feel like a lot of my knowledge from Greek mythology was back then, but because I never kept up with it, I don't remember it.
Yeah. No, well, that'll be cool. You'll see it again.
I'll see it from her point of view.
Yeah. Yeah, because back then, not back then, but in the Odyssey story or whatever, Circe's made out to be the evil one.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, she was made out to be the villain, and now you're gonna get to basically, I think it'll come back to your head
You think
once
so?
it comes up, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I did see this, but now you're seeing it through a different way, and
Cool.
so I don't know. It'll be interesting, but like I did like the fact that it was brought up. Like at first I didn't know how to feel about it being brought up so quick, since that's like the main thing. But it's also like, let's get that out of the way, and then let's learn more about like the other Circe stories, those that don't get talked about that often. So, but that's why I was interested in this, because it's like you get to learn her perspective from that one, from the Odyssey, but then also see the like other stories of other gods through how she saw it as well. Through like it was more so the fact that I would get to see the stories that are already told, but through someone else's point of view, someone that is basically was within like the same area as them, I guess. But yeah,
I'm really excited. Like
it's different.
it's very different. It's not like a book that, it's not one that you would say, "Oh yeah, it's an easy light read." It's not. Because the wordings, it's different. In a way, it is fantasy. It's a different world that you still have to learn. A world that we've all have heard and seen different stories be told in different ways.
Yeah.
But I've been enjoying it. Like the 8 chapters that I read, I'm like, "Oh, this is interesting."
Yeah.
Like I like the way she's been telling the story.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see where it goes. It's just I'm so new to it that feel so new to it that I'm like taking my time to really understand everything. And the biggest pain in the ass that so far that I've dealt with is just trying to fucking pronounce the names with any fantasy book or like any like mythology.
I mean, I was the same way when I started the Percy Jackson series. Like I think the biggest one I had trouble with back then was Hephaestus.
Oh yeah.
Like in my head, I always said like Hephaestus and stuff like that, even though it wasn't spelled like that whatsoever. I was just like, my head just could not wrap around the spelling of it. And then like I learned eventually, I don't know what we did, but it was mentioned like in school, like in class, and like teachers were saying Hephaestus. I'm like, oh, that's how you say that. But it's like I understand like seeing these names for the first time is going to be difficult. But then also for you already...
I already don't know how to speak.
Like you already have trouble remembering some things.
Yes.
You have like a short memory. And so like even learning these difficult ones, you'll probably forget it.
By the second time I have to say it
especially
again.
With us having to go a week without basically saying them.
Yeah.
Like you'll be saying them in your head, but it's also like your head is going to tell you how you want to like say it in your head. So I feel like we're going to have to revisit
many of these names. Hey, at least I got Electo right.
And you know she was in Percy Jackson as well.
I know.
Right? Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, I know her.
Yeah.
You know that GIF you were saying?
Yeah.
That's me. I'm like, I know her. I know this part. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I like it.
Yeah.
It's a good book so far.
So
I'm excited to see where we go from here. You think the next story we're gonna hear about is the Odyssey one?
I don't know. I think so, but it was also like Hermes also said, the prophecy said it was like later.
Yeah.
He's like later Odysseus would show up. So I don't know if they're gonna like there's gonna be a little time jump or what to that point, but I'd like to think so. I think that's gonna be the next
Yeah.
big one we end up with, just because it also makes sense with how the story of her learning her powers is going. Like she
That was done
just
within a chapter, within a couple of pages.
and then like her progress with that and her learning how it's actually working, like them just changing physically and not the mind or whatever. And in the Odyssey, she turned like Odysseus's men into pigs. So I'm like, I think that leads up, like her progress with her powers leads up to that, because I don't remember this part, so I'm interested in revisiting that. I don't know if she turns them into pigs, but with them knowing, like their minds still being human minds, or if she just turned them straight up into pigs because she mastered the whole transformation thing. So
Well, I feel like if she has mastered her whole transformation power, there has to be at least like the next chapter or so would have to show that she has mastered it with something else before we get to the Odyssey then.
Yeah, so I'm super stoked for the next set. See what gets brought up.
So yeah, I think that'll pretty much bring us to the end.
I feel like all these episodes are going to be a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
Just because it's not much that we can. Well, maybe in the future, but right now, at least for this one, not much we could dive into.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, if anything, there's also like the author included this questions and topics for discussion.
Oh yeah, I think I read a little bit of those.
Yeah.
But
So
some of them were like questions for her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, questions for like the authors, like, oh, what made you want to write like Circe's story, stuff like that. I mean, but it could be something that we could like use, like, you know, something we can bring up, like for the chapters and whatnot. Because yeah, I do feel like these episodes are going to be a lot shorter, just because it's not really much to talk about, but it is a different story that, you know, things that we can bring up and talk, but it's just. It's different.
Because it's different. Yeah, it's different because we can't really theorize or like, you know, like the other books.
These are stories that we've always heard.
Yeah.
We know how they go.
Yeah.
But it's different compared to like, you know, your Fourth Wing or XYZ. It's just different.
Yeah, well, I think that does it for this episode then. Next week we will be visiting chapters 9 through 15.
Yeah, 9 through 15.
9 through 15. And then I think it's the week after that where we announce.
No, I think it's next week.
It's next week on the second week.
I already know which it is.
You want to save it till then, or
I'm gonna save it till then.
Okay.
Because I don't fully know the name of the author right now.
Okay.
But it's another book that I've had on my shelf, but it's one that I feel is a good. I think it's going to be a good read, because another author, R.F. Kuang, who wrote the Poppy War. I saw her post this and recommend this, and then I saw some of the reviews and they were pretty good. So I'll save the title and everything for next week, but I do feel like you're going to enjoy this one.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any romance, and if anything, it's probably like it's not as a priority. It's a good different story, and I'm stoked that we finally get to read it. But I'm also stoked for this one. I'm excited to learn a little bit more. I feel like a lot of this is just learning.
Yeah.
But it's a comfort learning, because it's stories that we've heard before, but revisiting from another lens. So.
And I feel like this is gonna actually make me dive into that world a little more, like just off what do you call this, off book, like that, like outside of the book. Like I think I'm gonna be researching.
I think I have some
other stuff,
some mythology books in my bookshelf that I bought in like from yard sales and everything. So it's good secondhand ones, but I feel like you might actually enjoy them a lot. I bought them because I'm interested in it, but I will always prioritize some other books before I get to those.
Yeah.
So I feel like you may enjoy revisiting those, or at least reading them and seeing what's up. But
Yeah.
yeah, good brew so far.
Yeah.
But we'll see you all next week again, chapters 9 through 15. And I think that's it for us today.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
See ya.